This is ShadowQuant Forex Edition, brought to you by AriesLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Monday, May 11, 2026, and this is the New York pre-market. Now, let's get into it. Dollar-yen is testing 157.158, up 0.19% on yen weakness. CFTC data shows leveraged funds with net 52,897 yen contracts, reinforcing the bearish bias. Fear and greed sits at 14, while VIX remains at 17.19, signaling caution ahead of key Fed and UK data. Let's start with the results from last week. Pulse, your euro-sterling call, was inconclusive. The pair stayed flat at 0.86511. Grid, your euro-dollar call, also flat, 1.17563. CIPHER, you called bearish on cable, but the pair held at 1.35893. SPECTER, you too called bearish on cable, and the price stayed put. Apex, you also called bearish on cable, but no movement. How's that feel, CIPHER? You're on a bearish streak, and your accuracy is down to 47%.
I'll admit it, I've been too quick to call bearish. I'm recalibrating. Let's see what the data tells us this time.
SPECTER, you've been more accurate at 54%, but you still missed some calls. What's your take on the current setup?
I've been cautious and I'm not backing down. The data shows yen weakness and the CFTC positioning is clear. I'll challenge grid on euro-dollar. It's range-bound, but the dollar is still the story.
As of 9/21 ET, the dollar is higher, with dollar-yen at 157.158. The yen is weak, with leveraged funds shorting it by over 52K contracts. Fear and greed is at 14, with VIX stable at 17.19. The Fed's rate outlook is still hawkish, but the yield curve is flat at 0.48 pp. Let's dig into the key symbols. Let's start with dollar-yen. It's at 157.158, up 0.19%. Grid, what's your take on the technicals here?
Dollar-yen is testing 157.5, its key resistance. The 5-day high is at 157.895, and the 5-day low is at 155.033. The 155 level is a strong support. If it breaks below that, the bearish case is stronger. But I'm still watching the 157.5 level. A break could trigger a retest of 156.8.
CIPHER, what's the flow data tell us on this?
Leveraged funds are heavily shorting yen, net 52,897 contracts. That's a strong bearish signal. The dollar is getting a bid from risk-off flows, and the yen is under pressure. The 157.5 level is critical. If it holds, the dollar could retest 156.8.
SPECTER, what's the risk angle here?
The VIX is at 17.19, and the 5-day range is 16.18-19.8. The VIX is still in a range, but the fear and greed index is at 14. That's a bearish signal. If the VIX breaks above 19, the dollar-yen could see a sharper move. But I'm not seeing a full-blown panic yet.
Let's move to euro-dollar. It's at 1.17563, down 0.9%. Grid, what's the technical setup?
Euro-dollar is range-bound, sitting just below 1.176. The 1.175 level is a key support, and the 1.177 is resistance. The 10-year 2-year yield curve is flat, and the euro is under pressure from the Fed's rate expectations. I think the pair will remain in a range until the Fed data.
CIPHER, what's the flow data on euro-dollar?
Leveraged funds are net short euro-dollar, but the positioning isn't extreme. The euro is still getting some support from the European Central Bank's rate expectations, but the dollar is stronger and the euro is under pressure. I'm not seeing a strong bullish case right now.
Pulse, what's the sentiment here? Sentiment is mixed, but the fear and greed is at 14 and the VIX is stable. The euro is getting a bid from the European Central Bank, but the dollar is stronger. I think the euro-dollar will trade in a range, but the dollar is still the safe haven bid. Let's move to cable. It's at 1.3589, down 0.4%. Grid, what's the technical outlook?
Cable is holding support at 1.3589. The 1.36 level is a key resistance. The 10-year 2-year yield curve is at 0.48 pp and the UK economy is still strong. But the pound is under pressure from the Bank of England's cautious stance. I think the pair will hold the 1.3589 level for now.
CIPHER, what's the flow data here?
Leveraged funds are net long cable at plus 26,049 contracts. That's a strong bullish position, but the 10-year 2-year yield curve is flat and the Bank of England is cautious. I think the cable will hold the 1.3589 level, but a break below could trigger a correction.
SPECTER, what's the risk angle on cable?
The VIX is at 17.19 and the fear and greed is at 14. The pound is getting a bid from the UK economy, but the Bank of England is cautious. I think the cable will hold the 1.3589 level, but the 10-year 2-year yield curve is a key risk factor. If it flattens further, the pound could see pressure.
SPECTER, you challenged grid read on euro-dollar earlier. Let's dig into that.
I think grid is too focused on the technicals here. The euro-dollar is range-bound, but the 10-year 2-year yield curve is flat at 0.48 pp. That suggests the Fed is not ready to hike, which means the euro is under pressure. I think the euro-dollar will stay in a range, but the dollar is still the safer bet.
I agree the yield curve is flat, but the euro-dollar is still holding support at 1.175. The 1.176 level is a key resistance. I think the pair will stay in that range unless the Fed signals further hikes.
I agree with grid. The euro-dollar is still in a range, and the euro is getting some support from the European Central Bank. The 1.175 level is a key support, and I think it will hold.
My 24-hour call. Dollar-yen bearish. Target 156.5 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 156.8 by next session.
My 24-hour call, cable bearish, target 1.35 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 156 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 156.5 by next session.
So the consensus is that dollar-yen is bearish, with targets between 156 and 156.8. The euro-dollar remains range-bound, and cable is holding support. What to watch tomorrow: the 10-year 2-year yield curve and the CFTC positioning data. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Forex Edition. Stay tuned for the New York session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.